It's me, Red Planet, coming to you once again with another video. No rights to the video or music, strictly for educational purposes only. Let's listen to Bill Carson talk about CERN and portals. Let's get into it, Israel. See what he got to say. That's not real. Let's get into it, Israel.
Man, you don't even know what can come through. CERN is the LHC, the Large Hadron Collider. It's the largest machine in the world, located in Switzerland, and it's all underground, and it uses this gigantic track, this underground tube that's connected, and they send atoms in opposite directions and speed them up to a percentage of the speed of light and then let them collide. And then they analyze the collision to see what comes out of this collision between atoms, quarks and muons and everything else that they discover. But something else they discover in the process is that they create microscopic black holes. So originally a lot of people were getting scared about this because they were like, man, if you guys create a black hole here on Earth, will it suck the Earth in? Kind of fair to assume, like, black holes are supposed to be pretty deadly things. Even light can't escape them. So why create one here on Earth? But I think, in my opinion, is that part of the work going on at CERN is to learn how to create stable wormholes. What Einstein and Rosen called an Einstein-Rosen bridge, where you take space and you fold it and make a hole, punch a hole in between to make a connection, a shortcut through space-time.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. Today's guest is Kara from Eyeglass World.
Hi, thanks for having me.
And so it could be learning or trying to experiment, either by accident or on purpose, how to create a stable wormhole. How do you create one and hold it open? The biggest thing is holding it open. You take a piece of paper, bend it like this. So you had a pencil, you could poke a hole right through. So you can go from point A to point B. Instead of traveling over the length of that sheet of paper to get mine, and another professor, a theoretical physicist named Rosen, they call it the Einstein-Rosen bridge, was a theoretical name for this type of hypothesis on how to create a wormhole, or what a wormhole would be, how it would operate, how it would work. The biggest problem that we have is not creating a wormhole now, because we can create them, but how do you keep it open? How do you make it stable for something to pass through without collapsing? Now, NASA recently discovered something called X-points around Earth and also around the Sun. These are naturally occurring portals.
But if you are cutting on the Hadron Collider, then you're keeping it open for a portal to form. Whether you bring in something through the portal, like the fallen angels, or you taking something through the portal. Keep in mind, Israel, that every time they cut it on, they open it up, a portal, from one dimension to another. From that dimension to our dimension, or from our dimension to their dimension. What they're bringing through, we don't know. But whatever it is, it's evil. It's not good. The intentions, it's not good. So as long as that portal is open, it's causing problems within our atmosphere, within our dimension, whether it's tornadoes or hurricanes or bad rain or bad weather or earthquake, it's always something every time they cut this Hadron Collider on. It's always some type of problem, creating some type of problem in the process of opening up this portal to bring something through. And like I said, whatever is coming through is evil. But he ain't going to tell you that. They're only going to tell you what they want him to tell you. But we know better.
Portals that open and close every single day, all around the outside of our planet. The Themis satellite system discovered these portals a few years back, and I've been analyzing and watching them. Some of them create direct pathways to the sun and even to other planets in our solar system. So these are called X-points. They exist all around the outside of our planet. They're where magnetic diffusion points hit and cross like our magnetic fields hit and cross, in some way combining that crossing of electromagnetic fields with charged particles from the sun opens up a portal. So portals naturally can occur in nature. You don't have to make them artificially. So that's pretty interesting. All we have to do now is learn how to harness that power, and we can travel through space. We can go great distances without having to put ourselves in hibernation pods and things like that. But now what's interesting is you look at some of the pyramid structures and also read the ancient texts. If you go to one of the Sumerian tablets, they talk about having something called a Du-Ran-Ki. It was called a bond heaven-earth. And Enlil talks about walking from his home world directly to Earth and walking from Earth directly back to his home world, bypassing even getting in a spaceship. You go fast forward a little bit more, the ancient Egyptians talk about something called a Jed Pillar Ankh. They have a Jed connected to the inside of Ankh. People think the Ankh was like for decoration or represented rebirth and the womb of a woman and all that. It kind of did. Nowadays it's just decoration like jewelry. But it also represented something more technological in the ancient times. When you go to the super ancient texts, you discover that Ankh and that Jed were a oscillator that would resonate to the atomic frequency of the owner. That was the code programmed into the actual Ankh. Only
In the process of this hydrogen collider doing this is how they're able to open up a portal, along with the antimatter. They are able to open up this portal to bring whatever entity that's out there in that dimension here. So they have to have it strong enough to be able to do that, to open up that second dimension. Because you would just open it up, but what are you opening it up to? It has to have a different dimension. Whether it's, like I said, something coming through or something going through it. Or it's either or.
the elite of the elite had access to these portals to travel all around the world. There's one in Mexico, in Tula, Mexico, where though the Atlantean who came from Africa over there, he would stand there, and this looks like an indentation in the wall, and he would literally walk through it, and he would reappear somewhere else in the world, and he would come back from time to time and so forth. But again, he would have the Jed Pillar Ankh in his hand. Then you look at Bosnia in Europe. There's a pyramid there called the Pyramid of the Sun. Just like the one, there's one in Mexico called the Pyramid of the Sun. There's one in Bosnia called the Pyramid of the Sun. It's massive.
So now you see, Israel, all these pyramids that's appearing in different cities. Not just in Atlantis. Not just in Egypt. They're appearing all over. All over the world, we're seeing different pyramids pop up. And inside these pyramids is holding something. It's not just stone. It has something inside of it. How they get inside, I don't know. But it's there for a reason.
In this valley, there's like 5 massive pyramids, all covered with brush and trees and debris. They started digging this thing out. They said, oh my God, these are solid stone blocks. There's tunnels underneath that are connecting the pyramids. The same exact tunnels that are in Teotihuacan in Mexico, connecting the pyramid structure there.
Okay, so if these are pyramids and there's tunnels under the pyramid, how did they get in the pyramid to get under the tunnels? I mean, is it a doorway? Are there steps leading down to the underground tunnels? So if there's tunnels in the pyramids, that means there's tunnels in every pyramid that they're finding in different cities, in different states. But what is it leading to? An underground civilization? Possible. Or artifacts? Possible. Sarcophagus? Possible. We don't know. They'll never tell us. It's mighty funny, certain things is now starting to pop up. This is why they're trying to ban TikTok as much as possible, because people are bringing it out.
But inside of this one tunnel, they found this gigantic crystal. It's called the K2 megalith. And on it is written in runes, an ancient writing. It says, we must stand.
Now you see what I'm talking about? all these different artifacts that's popping up under these pyramids. Now look at this artifact, supposed to have different scripture, different writings on it. Different writings. And they know what it means. They have some people that can interpret that and break it down and tell them what exactly does it mean. But they know. And you got some of our people that know as well. This is why they don't want us to go there. Because we can break it down and decipher it. That is for us and not for them.
And defense until we can open the gate. Well, what gate are they talking about? I believe they're talking about the Stargate. But this K2 megalith, this gigantic crystal, it has something to do with activating the portal at this Pyramid of the Sun in Bosnia, which at some point they were defending it and trying to thwart some people from getting access to it until they can get it activated so they can walk through themselves. Pretty interesting stuff. This is well documented. The K2 megalith, gigantic crystal. So CERN, in my opinion, is researching and learning about technologies that already existed. Again, we're just rediscovering everything. There was something interesting before we go on. There was a field trip of sorts.
So do you remember that movie that came out? It was called Stargate. And they had a portal just like CERN. Exactly just like CERN. And they cut it on. And they were able to go from their dimension over to a different dimension. And it was just like in the time of Egypt. And they were curious as of what their technology and what they had. So they were able, as long as that portal stayed open, to go from their dimension to that dimension, and from that dimension to this dimension. And that's what they're doing now with this one right here, the Hadron Collider. It's just a different name, but it's the same thing. You should go watch Stargate. It's the same thing as what's going on right now. Pretty much telling us what's happening, what's taking place. Because back then, when they went through that portal, they saw a whole different civilization, high technology of what they saw in the hieroglyphics in these pyramids. But back then, they saw pyramids. You know, they saw Enki and Igloo. They saw all them, okay, in that portal. And they were bringing what they knew back to their civilization. But as long as that portal stayed open, they were able to go from one dimension to another, because the fascination of what they saw was so fascinating to them. They kept that portal open, and what they saw, they brought back.
A tour to let people come in and look around. And as one person was looking around, they saw these gigantic clear panels. They don't know what material they were made out of, and I have a picture of them leaning up against the side of a part of the machine with these hieroglyphs on them. So they sent these hieroglyphs out. Everyone, including I, sent the hieroglyphs out. Nobody can decipher these hieroglyphs. Nobody knows what in the world.
Yes, they do. Yes, they telling you they don't. They know. They got some professionals higher up that can break these down and decipher what it says and what it means. But they'll never tell us. We probably got some people that's very smart who can break this and decipher what this means and put it together to make words. They know what it is, but they ain't gonna never tell us.
These are, what they mean, where they came from, who wrote them, what writing, what ancient culture are they linked to? Nobody knows. Massive, giant, clear plates leaning up against the machine. At the front door, gigantic portal, a representation of a portal with one of these ancient Indian gods walking through it. They are just, in my opinion, learning about these creation of portals, learning how to create stable wormholes, just all experimenting, just trying to figure out what type of energy can we inject into one of these holes that will stabilize it, maybe even expand it. And where do they lead? Where do they go? Like when we go through them, where will we end up? Maybe they're sending small probes through or things through to take a look. Maybe they're sending nano probes into them. This type of research without complete oversight, to me, is scary stuff, man. I mean, you don't even know what can come through, like life in other worlds and also life in even other dimensions. Dimension is the realm that exists at a different frequency. Right now, we're in the third dimension. We only can control the first and the second. All right, the first dimension is a line. The second dimension is connected lines. And because we're in the third dimension, we're like the God over the second and the first. We can control and manipulate those dimensions from the outside. If people were living in those dimensions, like one-dimensional people or two-dimensional people, they would be at complete awe of what our capabilities were, because they first of all, they wouldn't be able to see us as a third-dimensional being. All they would see is the manipulation of their environment. They would wonder what's going on. All right, so that's kind of power we would have. Everything that exists in the third.
But what they don't understand is when they had the movie Stargate and they had the portal open, what they had, the people that were there in that dimension couldn't come to our dimension, but we can go to their dimension. Certain times when you go through a portal to a different civilization or a different dimension, a lot of times what's there can't come here, but we can go there. Okay? And they know that. They know that what's there, now the different artifacts that's there can be brought back. But the people that's there cannot come back to our dimension. When you notice when we were looking at Stargate, never did see, at least I didn't see it, people that was in Stargate in that dimension, like Egypt, couldn't come back to our dimension where they were living, but the people that was living in our dimension went there and was amazed on what they saw in the technology that they had.
Dimension that we took part in creating, it started all in the multi-dimensional platform. So this chair that we're sitting in right now, a person thought about this chair first before it manifested as solid matter, but they thought about it on the multi-dimensional platform, higher dimensional thinking, the original platform before all these other platforms came out. And in that realm, it existed and was constructed in a higher dimension. Then what happens is the person who was thinking about creating this chair collapsed it from multi-dimensions into...
So what they're saying is, what I believe is that what they saw, what was in Stargate over in that dimension, the artifacts and stuff that they had was so high-tech back then that they wanted to bring it back to use it in the dimension that they had, in the world that they had, because they were so fascinated with it that they tried to replicate what they saw back there and bring it back to their dimension to use. So like if you take, like the guy was saying, that chair and design it to look like what was over there in Egypt, then they could use that chair like when Pharaoh had a throne that he sat on to rule Egypt. They tried to replicate that throne that Pharaoh had, or Enki, and whatever he used, tried to bring it back to their dimension.
2 dimensions. How? By drawing it on a piece of paper. Then it went from there probably into a computer. And from there it gets sent, now the data from it gets sent to an engineer who now crafts it into a 3-dimensional object that we can maneuver in XYZ axis in space-time. So
looks just like a throne. I mean, even though we look at it as a chair, but it looks like a throne. Similar, not exactly like it, but similar to what they had over in that other dimension in Stargate.
this this chair that
keep in mind, when they open up that dimension, open up the portal, they had no idea on what was on the other side. They were taking a chance, fearful of what they was getting ready to go through, because they didn't know what was on the other side of that portal until they got over there and found out that that other side that they went through, they liked it. They liked it.
Sitting in and you're sitting in started off, it was created in multi-dimensions and then collapsed into a three-dimensional structure that we're sitting on right now. Now, extrapolate fourth dimension. The fourth dimension used to be said it was time. It's not time. That's just a hypothesis that Einstein was trying to correlate time to the third. The fourth dimension is a tesseract, a fourth dimensional hypercube. From the fourth dimension and all the way up, things change completely. So we're in the third. Somebody in the fourth dimension, an entity.
But this tesseract, it can be used as a portal. Depends on how it's being used. It can be used as a portal as well. Anything that they can possibly put together, they'll try to use it as a portal. Because once you go through a portal and be on the other side of that dimension, you're going to always want to go and replicate something and put it together just to see what's on the other side of it. That's why you have so many movies on different portals. Like they say, your door that you go walk in and out of can be a portal if you wanted to use it that way.
In the fourth dimension can see into everything. They can see through this ceiling and watch us sitting here right now. Right? They can see the past, present, and future all at the same time. It's like having a house and living different parts of your life at the same time in different years in the same house. So if there are beings in higher dimensions that have developed the ability to understand and get the actual subatomic frequency number of the third dimension in this universe, they can theoretically walk from their universe or their dimension directly into ours. Every universe has a specific frequency. Every dimension in that same universe also has a frequency. Every atom resonates at a specific frequency. Nothing ever rests. Everything is always vibrating. At the subatomic level, we know that when you dig deep into the nucleus of an actual atom, what's in there is a tiny vibrating string. So we're living in a symphony of music, and the music that's jingling and making this noise is creating the illusion of physicality, the illusion of solidity, even the illusion of distance, which doesn't even exist. And so that's what we're living in. Now, let's say there's a cancer tumor in a person's body. The cells in that cancerous tumor are now operating or vibrating at a specific resonant frequency. We know this for a fact. If I have a device that actually can match the frequency of that tumor, I can send a cancellation frequency to that tumor, something like a red machine. I can destroy it without destroying.
So when they go through the cells, tumors, under a microscope and go inside the tumor, it's just like going through a portal, because you have to go through it to see what caused the cancer and why they had the tumors when they do the biopsy. Everything basically can be a portal. Whether it's a portal where you're just walking through a door or out a window, a mirror, or your phone. Your phone can be a portal. Your TV, your tablet. Everything can be a portal. But it's what's on the other side is what you need to be concerned with, and what is coming through and going out.
Destroying the surrounding tissue, right? So imagine having the capability of now understanding on a more grand scale, a dimension, fifth dimension, like somebody there obtains the frequency of the third dimension. They just come right on.
And think about it. Every time they open up the Hadron Collider, think about how many things that they're pulling through or bringing through the Hadron Collider through that portal that's in our civilization right now. And think about how many things that that even if they go through it, just to see what's on the other side, think about what they're bringing back. Shalom, Israel.